Alright, so this homework we will mark together in class to check that you can do it correctly. Let's go to the next concept, the rearrangement of formulas. Now I'm not going to read that top part, I'd rather work with you. Alright, so in science you'll always receive a data sheet that has formulas on this. So you will never have to memorize a formula. You will always get a data sheet if you need the formula or need to use it, but you just need to know how to use it, and that's what we're going to practice now. Okay, so you all, I think this triangle looks familiar from grade 9 technology or natural sciences. So this is the formula that goes with it, and I start with saying, all right, if this is the formula, can we rearrange this formula to make S the subject of the formula? So if you need to make S the subject, what are we going to do with T? We need to multiply with T to get it out, but what you do on the one side, you must do on the other side. So this is V times T. Same if you want to make T the subject of the formula. T is below the fraction. We want to get it to the top. Multiply it on both sides. But then you have T times V. You need to get rid of V. So you have to divide by V. So T is S over V. Alright, that's a bit easy. Let's go to a more difficult one. So this is still just practicing. Here I give you a formula and I say make S the subject of the formula. Now S is tucked away in there and there's a lot of things happening around S. So we can't just say S is equal to blah blah blah. We must first get rid of everything around S first. Okay, so let's see if we can do that. The first thing I see that's a problem is this square root. How do we get rid of a square root? What is the inverse or the opposite of a square root? Is when you square. Okay, so if we have this and we want to get rid of the square root, we're going to square the whole thing. But what you do on the one side, you must do on the other side. So you get V squared is equal to U plus 2AS over 2. Alright, now we got rid of the square root. Still, where is S? There is S. We can't just say minus U or divide by 2A. We must first get rid of this 2. Okay, so how do we get rid of the 2? Currently, we are dividing by 2. So what's the opposite of dividing by 2? Multiplying by 2. But what you do on the one side, you must do on the other side. So now you have 2V squared is equal to U plus 2AS. Sharp, getting closer. There's S. Now we have 2A that we must divide. But before we can do that, we must get rid of the U. What are we currently doing with the U? We are adding the U. So now we must subtract the U. So minus U and minus U. Because what you do on the one side, you must do on the other side. So now we have and I actually want to go to this side. Now we have 2V squared minus U is equal to 2AS. Right, getting closer. There's S. What is hindering us or stopping us? There is a 2A. So currently it's multiplying. So how do we get rid of it? We need to divide by it. But what you do on the one side, you must do on the other side. Okay, so then we are left over with 2V squared minus U over 2A is equal to S. Okay, and what you'll see what I do is I immediately swap them around so that I get S is equal to 2V squared minus U over 2A, because it's just easier to read it that way around. Okay, but to say X is equal to 5 and 5 is equal to X is the same thing. So that is why I can just swap it around. Okay, so let's see how we're going to apply it here. Here you see we have a list of formulas. This is a example of the data sheet that you'll get in a test or an exam. And we are now going to use it. So here I tell you, if V, now I'm going to start with an info table here on the right hand side. If V is 50 and then this is an upside down Y, and this Y is actually called lambda. So if lambda is 40, we must find F. Okay, now what? Okay, you later on in the year you will know what all these symbols stand for, but right now I just tell you each symbol has a value and you must find F. Now where will you find this F? You're going to look on this data sheet for a formula that helps us to solve this puzzle. So if you go through all of these equations, then you'll see this formula helps us. There we have F or V, we have F, and we have lambda. So in science, you're always going to copy a formula exactly like it is given on the data sheet, symbol for symbol. You don't change anything. Then the next thing is you're going to substitute the values that was given. So you substitute the values that was given, and then lastly, you're going to rearrange to get the correct answer. So you're going to rearrange these values. So we want to get F on its own. Currently it's multiplying by 40. So how do we get rid of the 40? We must divide by 40. But what we do on the one side, we must do on the other side. So if you type into your calculator 50 divided by 40, you get 1.25. So that means F is equal to 1.25. Now this unit is hertz. You don't need to know that now, but just for completion's sake. Let's look at another example. I tell you VF is 2, so it actually stands for the final velocity. VF is 2. T for time is 5. VI, initial velocity is 0, and they tell us to find acceleration A. Okay, so we need to find a formula that suits or fits into the puzzle there, and the formula that goes with it is this formula there. So we're going to copy the formula symbol for symbol from the data sheet. You do not change anything, you do not rearrange. Okay, now in this formula you'll see that triangle. That triangle means delta. It's a capital D for delta. For now you can just ignore delta, but later on I'll explain what triangle or delta stands for, but right now you can just ignore it. Put in your symbols or your values. That is a 2, that is a 0. Yes, in science you need to substitute your 0 and show it. A we need to find, and T is 5. Okay, now 0 plus anything just gives you that anything. So we have 5A, divide by 5 because we want to get A on its own. What you do on the one side, you must do on the other side. And we get A to be 0.4, and you don't need to know the unit just yet. Alright, so what I want you to do for homework is the next page, 3 until 7. Number 6 might be a bit difficult, try it, but if you don't get it right, don't worry, and that's your next homework.